Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Say, this here article, this here piece is intended for fair use under the Copyright Act for educational purposes. Had to get that out the way. Got to used to start getting that out the way on all of my videos. All right, so today we're going to talk about entity acrobats, people. We're going to break it down. We're going to go through it. We're going to run through it and yet another episode. Follow all of my episodes in the order that they're posted. All right. This would be episode number 4. I think I'm gonna go back and title those, or at least I'm gonna start the title with this one. Anyway, so this is gonna be the 4th episode in a series on business associations, corporations. C corporation is the main focus. C corporations that are taxed or that are actually an LLC that has elected to be taxed as a C corporation. All right, because we focusing on the sole member, solo dolo. That's how most of us jumping in. This also applies to a C corporation if you want to form a C corporation outright. If you want to, do the whole board of director things, but with the flexibility of the LLC, you see that it will eliminate all that. All you got to do is set up a LLC, right? Set your LLC up and elect and have your LLC to be taxed as a C corporation. You get all the benefits and perks of the C corp with the flexibility of the LLC. It's amazing. Jump on board, do what you got to do. We for the swoosh and dive right in. All right, so entity acrobats once formed, once you set up that LLC and you have it taxed as a C corporation, or once you set up that C corporation, artificial entities are persons that can do many of the things natural persons can do. For example, artificial entities can buy shares of another artificial entities. They can also do things natural persons cannot. Artificial entities can dissolve. They can merge with other artificial entities. They can spin off portions of their assets into separate entities and convert themselves to other entity types. See, all of this right here are the things that we're missing in business. You see, we just go do the LLC. We don't even learn all the magic behind it. We keep it as a default sole prop. We pay our little taxes. If the taxes pass through to us, we pay our little taxes and we be content. We be happy. But when you're setting your company up the way that I support, what I'm a proponent of, then you open up the door to become a true owner, a true boss. You're able to provide jobs to other people. You're able to support the community, to support the neighborhood. At some point, you could become a philanthropist and help out. All of this whole path is the path that all the moguls then took. Jay-Z, Puff Daddy, 50 Cent, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, everybody that got bread. This is one of the biggest secrets that they're not telling y'all. How to run and manage business so that your business can last forever, so that you can become wealthy, so that you could become rich. Why I'm not rich? Because I'm a bullshit ass individual. I've been playing games, but guess what? I'm just now starting to do something with all of the information. Now I done set up companies. I got my company set up the right way. I'm set up. But all of these other things that I'm about to dive into, the mergers, the acquisitions, getting angel investors, selling companies and all of that, I haven't touched that yet. That's why I want to go on and teach it because I know it. I have all of the information. So I just need to put it in the front of my mind so I could boom, 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 and just keep it going. So we're going to talk about some of these things that the entities can do. We're going to start with dissolution. What is dissolution? Dissolution is the termination of an entity's existence. Simple. Under the default rules, any partner can dissolve a partnership simply by giving notice to the partnership. Chartered entities such as LLCs and C corporations are dissolved by the entity's election to dissolve, followed by the entities giving notice of that election to the chartering government. So if you set up your LLC through the Secretary of State, there's paperwork that you go through the Secretary of State to dissolve your company. All you have to do, if you're in Texas, or if you're in Arkansas, or if you're in Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, New York, California, all you have to type into Google is, how do I dissolve an LLC in the state of Texas, in the state of California, etc., etc., etc. All right, so more commonly, the chartering government dissolves entities for failure to pay fees. After dissolution, the dissolved entity continues in existence solely for the purpose of winding up. Winding up is a process which is when a dissolved entity sells its assets, pay its debts, and distribute the proceeds to its investors. All right, so these are two terms that you need to pay attention to. Dissolution, all right, dissolution, all right, dissolution, and winding up. Winding up is another legal term, all right? And again, as I mentioned, it's the process where once you decide you're going to dissolve it, submit, do your filings with the state, then you have to go through the winding up process, all right? And that's where, again, you sell your company assets, you pay your company debts, and you distribute the proceeds to its investors. A lot of us, we're going to be the only investor, all right? So we have to look at it as such, not to yourself. You're looking at now you're in the investor persona. So when you're a sole member, when you set up a LLC and you manage it as a C corporation, as a sole member with no board, or I take that back, because you do have a board with yourself, but you don't have any additional members, then you have many personas. You're the secretary, you're the employee, you're the manager, you're, every single title that a company has, that's you. That's you. All right. So on to the next. Mergers. Legal entities can perform mergers. What is a merger? We hear it all the time. You're in traffic court, you see the sign, merge left, meaning that you just merge, you blend in, you combine, you merge in. So a merger is when two companies, two or more entities form into one. A merger is the combination of two or more entities into one. The purpose is usually to combine two businesses into one. The entities that combine are called constituent entities, and the one that remains is called the surviving or resulting entity. These are legal terms. Constituent entity are entities that have combined, that have merged together. The one that remains, the one that's going to actually be doing business, the one that bought the other, all right, it's called the surviving or the resulting entity. All right, so some or all of the shareholders of the constituent entities give up their shares and receive shares of the surviving or resulting entity. The surviving or resulting entity can adopt any name and fundamental documents that would be permitted if it were a newly forming entity. All right, so it could start over from scratch. Once you merge, you could do everything from the very beginning. You could, form your operating agreement. You could do that. You could name it whatever it is you want to name it as well. Just a fresh slate. All right. Now, the effect of a merger is that the surviving or resulting entity owns all of the constituent entities' assets and owes all of the constituent entities' debts. Mergers are voluntary. The entity's managers negotiate the terms and memorialize them in a merger agreement. All right. Again, that's another term, merger agreement. So when you merge, you have to have a merger agreement. Each constituent entity must approve the merger agreement in accord with the entity's internal decision-making process. That nearly always includes investor approval, which again, you playing many personas. You're going to be the investor, you're going to be the manager, you're going to be all of that wrapped up in one bundle, doing all of those things. Now, the last step is for the constituent entities to each file certificates of merger, another legal term. You have to file a certificate of merger with your formation state. So wherever you set up your company at, you have to file a certificate of merger and you have to pay the filing fees. The resulting entity's formation state will then issue a charter for that entity. All right, meaning that it's going to give you the right to conduct business in the state. You're going to get your certificate of formation. All right, so another thing, on to the next. All right, okay, so no, we're going to back up, okay? No, 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 no. I take that back. We are on to the next. All right. So another thing that an the entity can do, along with dissolutions and mergers, is the selling of all of its assets. All right. The sale of all of an entity's assets to another entity, followed by dissolution of the selling entity, has almost the same effect as a merger. After the sale, only one entity remains, and that entity owns both businesses. All right. Entity ownership. An entity can own shares in other entities. If parent LLC owns a sufficient portion of the shares of subsidiary corporation to control subsidiary corporation, then parent LLC is referred to as the parent entity, and subsidiary corporation is referred to as a subsidiary. An entity can become a parent by purchasing the shares of the subsidiary from the subsidiary or from a third party that owns the shares. All right, so for example, assume that parent LLC wants to own a subsidiary with $100,000 in assets. Parent LLC could achieve that goal by incorporating a new subsidiary corporation and then purchasing all of the subsidiary shares from it for $100,000. Parent LLC would then own all of the shares of subsidiary corporation, and the subsidiary corporation would own the $100,000. All right, so let me go through that again. So we have a scenario. We have one LLC that's named Parent LLC, and Parent LLC wants to own a subsidiary with $100,000 in assets. Parent LLC could achieve that goal by incorporating a new subsidiary corporation. How do you do that? Well, if you're Parent LLC, you simply form another LLC with Parent LLC as the owner. You know how you set up your individual LLC and you listed yourself as the owner? Well, Parent LLC would set up another LLC and would list, and Parent LLC would be the owner of that subsidiary LLC. And once it's set it up like that, all right, then Parent LLC would purchase all of subsidiaries' shares from it for $100,000. And how do you do that? You set it up, you form it, and then you simply transfer the shares. All right, you purchase all of the shares from it for $100,000. Parent LLC would then own all of the shares of subsidiary corporation, and subsidiary corporation would own the $100,000. That's how it works, cut and dry. If you have any questions after listening to the video, if you have any questions about any parts of the video, please leave your comments. Please leave your comments. All right. I got to figure out if my comments are going to be on or not. But however it goes, even if you catch it during the replay, what you can do is you can leave a comment. All right. I will get to all of the questions Everything that comes across as a notification that I see, that I come in contact with, I will address. All right. So one of the next things that an entity can do, an entity can spin off. Spin off is the opposite of a merger. All right. That is, spin off is a process by which a business owned by one entity divides into two or more businesses, each owned by a different entity. Entity laws do not expressly specify a spin-off procedure, but an entity can accomplish a spin-off by using only the concepts already described. In the first step, the entity forms a subsidiary, and the entity receives all of the subsidiary shares. The entity then distributes those shares to the entity's investors in proportion to their shares in the entity. For example, the entity might distribute to each of its investors one share of the subsidiary for each share the investor holds in the entity. So if you just solo dolo, which is what I incorporate, the sole member LLC being elected as a to be taxed as a C corporation. If you're a solo dolo, then you're the investor. All right. The entity may distribute to each of its investors one share of the subsidiary for each share the investor holds in the entity. After the distribution, each investor, which will be you, will own the same proportion of shares in each of the two entities, which for the sole member would be 100% of the shares. All right. One of the next things that legal entities can do: acquisitions and tender offs. An entity acquires another entity by buying the other entity's shares. If the other entity is a public company, the acquirer may choose to purchase the shares sequentially in the public market or to make a tender offer. All right, another term. This is another legal term. So, what is a tender offer? A tender offer is a public offer to buy all or part of an entity's shares at a specified price per share. For example, let's take Acquisition Corporation. Acquisition Corporation may make a tender offer for 45% of Target Corporation shares at $38 per share. The offer is contingent upon 45% of the shares being tendered or offered at $38 per share. The shareholders indicate their willingness to sell by having their brokers place their shares in escrow. If the contingency is met, the acquirer buys the shares. If not, the acquirer is not obligated to buy any shares. A tender offer is usually for enough shares to give the acquirer voting control of the entity. Tender offers are regulated by federal law. An acquisition is not a merger. After acquiring an entity, the acquirer may or may not merge with it. All right, acquisitions and tender offers. The next thing would be conversions. Now, with some exceptions, all right, an entity of a particular type formed in a particular state can convert to an entity of any other type formed in the same state or in any other state. So let me give you an example. All right. A California LLC can convert to a California corporation or a Delaware corporation. For conversion to take place, it must be authorized under the entity law that currently governs the entity and the entity law that will govern the entity after conversion. All right. Reincorporations is another trick or acrobat or entity acrobatic trick that a legal entity can do. Reincorporations. If an entity wishes to convert, but the entity laws involved do not authorize the desired conversion, the entity may be able to accomplish the same result by forming a shell entity of the desired type in the destination jurisdiction, and then exchanging its assets for the shell's entity shares or merging with the shell entity. Now, what's a shell entity? All right, you may hear a lot of this. I know we hear a lot about shell entities whenever there are lawsuits being filed and somebody, a company, or even the government. But more than likely it's a lawyer that's money hungry, and they're calling another entity. Oh, it's a shell entity. Oh, it's this, it's that. But a shell entity is legal. All right. A shell entity is an entity that has no assets. The use of conversions, mergers, and asset sales to change states or entity types are referred to collectively as reincorporations. Reincorporations. All right, guys, we've been running a little bit with this one. Where we at? I'm not quite okay. So we've been going about 20 minutes. That's typical. I'm gonna try to keep them between 20, no more than 30 minutes each run. We done knocked that out. Just as a recap, we went over entity acrobatics, which are things that legal entities are allowed to do. We discussed dissolutions, mergers. We talked about selling of all assets, entity ownership, spinoffs, acquisitions, tender offers, conversions, and reincorporations. All right. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you for listening. Let me run my ticker across the bottom. I need to start doing this at the beginning of these videos. I really do be forgetting, but the ticker will give you a few of my handles that I want you guys to follow, as well as my Cash App. Don't hesitate. You don't have to think twice about it. You could drop your boy $5, $10, $20, $100, $500, whatever you want to send to the Cash App and bless my game with. I wholeheartedly appreciate it, and it's definitely going to go towards the effort that I put out with continuing to be able to put out this valuable information that our people need to be on. I'm gonna keep pumping. I'm gonna keep coming. I ain't stopping. I feel the traction. I feel the momentum. I've been trying to do this for a very long time, for some years now, to be able to sit down and get it in my DNA to consistently pump these videos out to you guys. I use my avatar. I was just looking up and saw my avatar. I use my avatar because, for several different reasons. All right. And the main ones are distractions. I don't want to distract the people. I don't want to distract anyone. All right. I want no zero distractions from me as a person, to my background, to my environment. None of that. You can, I'm not hiding. Everybody know what I look like. Just go on my page, go scroll through some of my pictures. I do have videos where it's actually me, so you can see what you're dealing with or who you're dealing with. I'm not trying to hide. I'm just trying to prevent any distractions in these videos. All right, I appreciate y'all. Peace, love, peace, and hair grease. I'm a 70s baby. Let's get it. But let me say this before I go. Say, man, y'all share these videos. All right, share these videos. A lot of people that's my generation, um, in your 40s, or done hit 50 or about to hit 50, say, man, we done got too comfortable out here. Our kids, man, they ain't playing no games. And there's a lot of them that's doing their entrepreneur thing. And man, they ain't playing no game. We sitting around like it's too late for us. We sitting around like we some old farts. And when we get 70, 80, and 90, we ain't gonna have no money. We're gonna have to deal with them kids, and them kids gonna have to wipe our ass and take care of us. I don't know about you, but I want my own money. I want to be able to dictate what happened to me. I don't want my kids to have to, oh, we're going to put them here. Oh, we're going to put them there. No, 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 no. I want to have the bread. I want to have the bread to be able to dictate and determine how I'm taken care of. I don't want to leave that in my kids' hands. And believe me, our kids gonna have the bread. You better hope you was a good parent. You do. I got a whole bunch of kids, so I got some that think I'm, that I'm their superhero, and I got some I wasn't able to be there for, and I understand whatever those feelings may be. But I got options, but I'm not gonna even depend on the ones that I'm there for. The ones that I'm raising. I'm not gonna even depend on them. I want my own bread because I want my own say so. All right. So us older people, we have to get out of that mindset. We got to get out of that mindset. We have to go back to when we was young. Now is the time to do that. See, we didn't have the opportunities that our children have now. And I know a lot of people say it all the time, man, I wish it was like this when I was young, but it's like this right now. And you still young. You did? Quit playing. Say, man, jump on board, follow these videos, do the damn thing. I'm in the dough. You better fool with me right now. I'm not playing. Fool with me.